second. I have lost a very important part. I'll be back in just 1 second, then we can start the game. Sorry guys, I misplaced something and I actually need to find it before I can start. So... there we go. Okay, so apologies all around for delayed starts. As I said on Twitter, my back was definitely to the wall on technical stuff. Hopefully my mic's in a good spot. Then a little trouble getting started on top of that, and then obviously running around trying to find my various paraphernalia to be able to play the game and stream and whatnot. So as is my way, it'll probably be a little bit of a shorter stream tonight, but that doesn't necessarily work poorly for me. It's because actually it's occurred to me that I think some of this may not have wound up on stream. I believe I was exploring the possibility. I know I hadn't started the war with the Tundra Zone Bloodletters. There was a stream that I had done, you know, just to get the job done. But one, I'm not entirely sure the video is saved, and then on top of that, I know there was one where I think I got a little carried away at the end of one cast, and I think I spent a little bit of time on my own. I know normally when I do that, it is so I can, it's basically so that I can get some tedious management out of the way. There's actually a little bit that I need to do right now, so let's go to my sector manager. What I'll do is I'll do a very quick overview of, I think it's these guys. Nope. I'll do a bit of an overview of how I started. Hello, Jesse Quill. Do you want to play this game yet? Thank you so much for that, host. So what I'm basically doing here is one great way that the game takes a lot of the cognitive load off of you is as your empire expands. First of all, you have this directly controlled and colonized system window. So what you can do is you can give whole segments of your empire off to the AI to manage things for you. And I know a lot of people in chat when I stream this game say that they want to give fully formed planets to the sectors, and there's definitely reasons for doing that, but I don't actually feel that bad about giving quite a few planets over to the AI. And one of the reasons why I don't feel so bad about that is at least the way that it works now. So let's just take Gazem Prime as an example. Oops. I know off cast I spent a bunch of time doing some upgrades. All right, it looks like everything's upgraded. Actually, you can see here that the AI's built a bunch of colony ships, and I'm not 100% sure where this one is going. So the only planets we can colonize inside my space are... What is that? Oh, an alien hive. Okay. I'll see if I can blow this up for everybody's entertainment. Yeah, we don't have any more systems. I was a little worried about the Alpha Refuge, because you'll notice that like things like the Delta Refuge and all of that are now in my space, but they don't seem to be bothered by the fact that I'm sort of encroaching on their territory. So we're okay there. But yeah, anyway, so what I was talking about this before, so I really don't mind giving off the sectors, because if I want to build stuff on the planets, that's fine. I think I've never personally had a problem with the AI building too much that I don't want them to do. So let's recap what we were doing. I think the last time for sure that I did this on a proper Monday, we were at war with the Alvathari Assembly. That was partially a war of opportunity and partially a a bit of a necessity, because we'd gotten over a fairly big war with the Yuvazavani Enlightened Kingdom. I used the fact that I had wormhole technology to basically save my life, because they were in a point where they felt that they could do a vassalization requests on me, and we managed to beat them back, basically using a bunch of... I mean, so it wouldn't have ever worked on a human player, because effectively what they did was they just barreled these devil fleets down on me, and or they could have, rather. They had so much more ability. They could have just gone straight to my capital, and there's nothing I could have done about it. But basically, because I constantly gave them a bunch of fires to put out just by jumping from planet to planet and taking them over, I was able to take them out. But of course, the problem was that I'd fallen behind on technology, and I'd fallen behind on sort of a lot of colonization opportunities. Can you change your capital? You absolutely can. So I will take where do I have? Liseth. Yeah, move capital. So you can move your capital at a cost of 250 influence, although it notes here that it is not possible to move the capital while at war. I'm assuming this is to prevent, a near certain victory from being snatched away from, for very foolish reasons. So anyways, I needed some expansion opportunities, and the Alvathar, basically, the obvious target to gobble up would have been the Galactic Kroll Commonality, because they only had 2 planets. They're easily accessible within my space, but the challenge, of course, was that they are protected by the Yuvazavani Enlightened Kingdom, and unfortunately, these guys were quite tough to deal with. Now, we are quite a bit better off. And then the Pithok League was equivalent to me at the time, but they had the Benthel Pious Covenant. So basically, the Alvathari Assembly was something that was a ready target of opportunity. They were at war with the Tendrazun Bloodletters, and one of the drawbacks was that the Tendrazun actually gobbled up pretty much this whole area from them during the war, which made things a bit complicated. That's why you sort of see this hodgepodge of areas here. But what had happened was they went to war. Let's see, it should tell us. That's odd that it says they only were at war with the Alvathari Assembly. I'm pretty sure that they were also at war with the Benthel. Anyways, they wound up being at an inferior fleet size. So even though their technology level was higher, we might be near the end of the game. So this is the only drawback. We're so close to a victory, and we didn't really get any of the endgame events. In fact, I haven't been able to... This is the funny thing, is that I've beaten Stellaris a couple of times, but I haven't gotten to do the cool stuff, like I don't have the megastructures technology, so I can't build the science nexus. Oh yeah, you're just a baby in this game, Masamagoma. But yeah, so I know this is probably the point where it's a little less clear what happened or what was on cast. We had a target of opportunity with the Tendrazun Bloodletters, so while we sort of waited for some war score to tick by and whatnot, eventually we vassalized the Avathari assembly effect. I believe we are currently integrating them. Yes. So we have some time still, but basically we're currently we're incorporating them into our own empire. Actually, that's the win. So basically, I'm pretty sure we win this game in 165 months. But yeah, so we had the target of opportunity, and basically what I wanted to do on this one was I wanted to gobble up as much of their empire on this side that I could. I even withheld like taking the capital or anything like that. And the main reason for doing so was I wanted them, so they're still a reasonably large and powerful enemy, but what I basically wanted to do is I wanted them to be sharing borders with the Pythok League, who are my sort of my big rivals. Effectively, I wanted a nice border along some areas that I could conquer. I wanted to make sure that they're disrupting each other. The one drawback was that the Quay Pulki are enemies of the Yuva Zavani Enlightened Kingdom. I want to continue to gobble up these guys, and it would be better if these guys were strong enough to stand up for themselves, but in reality, I don't think that's going to happen. I have a feeling that they're probably going to be food for the Tendrazun Bloodletters. But the good news is that when you get taken over by the Techarus multi-system, you are incorporated into the collective rather than exterminated by the fanatical purifiers. So it all ends well. This is true, Captain Sergei. It is definitely bigger. So why am I at war right now, you might ask? Well, I was on my way to be building a couple of frontier outposts, and then the Pythok League decided to do so. Now the drawback is, even though I have wormholes, that coverage prevented me from being able to go across my my empire. So I had all of the fleets from prosecuting the war against the fanatical purifiers. They weren't able to get back home. And of course, that's a major problem, because if the Yuva Zavini Enlightened Kingdom decides to attack at any point, I'm not able to bring the ships that I need to defend myself. So this is one of the things that, you know, if you do this in a game, like, you are guaranteeing a war. Now, the thing here is they're inferior. They're in a defensive pact with the Belthen, so these guys. But both of them are at pathetic strength, and these guys no longer have a oh, they do have a technology advantage over me. But basically, as long as my ships move the way that they want to, I mean, as long as I don't lose my mind during this whole thing, I'm basically just gonna roll over them, and it's gonna be very sad and hilarious, and I'm going to win a lot. So here's what we're going to do. I actually feel like I should be taking... I'm not quite sure why I'm building it this way, but I'm going to take my fleet. We're going to take out these structures instead. So at this point, the one drawback that I have is we do still have some conquest. I don't think we've incorporated all of these worlds yet. Enough. Unrest can sometimes be a little bit of a problem, so I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do about my armies. Obviously, I have quite a few available, but what we're going to do is we're going to do more or less the same thing that we did before. We're just going to go planet to planet. We'll gobble up what we can. Ideally, we will avoid them. So there was a sneaky move where during the war with, I think it was the Tendrazun. Let's just double check who I'm at war with right now. Yeah, it has to be. The Quay Pulki actually managed to get out and around, and I believe they took Tankia. That may not be correct, because there's a base. Maybe the AI rebuilt it, but anyways. The Civ 5 or Civ 6? Anyways, it's probably best. So yeah, the major reason why I'm at war right now was they put a couple... I wanted this territory anyway. I obviously waited way too long to get it. But they put down something that prevents me from moving. So at this point, it's just like, okay, well, there's no, like, these guys can't be taught. So what I'm going to do with my construction ships, They're building resources. I'm okay with that, but these guys, I need to build a better network. So let's I think I'm gonna get super cheeky on these. The hell? So basically what I try and do is I try and build these things away from like major hyperlanes. And what I basically want to do here is I want to build a bit of a network to prevent them from well, I mean, one, they're not going to be able to... usually they tend to leave these things alone. But basically, I want to give myself a lot of mobility options. I'll put one here. These things do cost energy in that, but I've tended to find that it works reasonably well for me if I build a lot of these, and that the additional movement tends to pay off. I'm obviously getting a little ballsy moving so close to their territory, but these things run away on their own. So wormholes can't jump over enemy territory, or it's just that their enemy territory is too wide to jump over. Well, you can see here that my wormholes were large enough to be able to oh, actually, that's a good question. I believe the territory was so wide I couldn't go across, but I will admit I'm not 100% sure about that. You know what? I think I'm also going to build a little bit of a network in my home territory. This will obviously take a while, but you got to do the infrastructure. And then I'll actually hit on pause and we can play the game. Now, the one drawback is that I can definitely get super smug and sure of myself, and if I don't watch where my ships are and what they're up to, I'm going to very quickly discover that having a large fleet doesn't mean I'm immortal. By the way, I always love the new Stellaris soundtrack that's out, but this is a particularly good song on this one, in my opinion. I am also trying to build some redundancies in this network, and that's just to make sure that obviously if there's one well-placed attack on my infrastructure, then that's particularly difficult to overcome. I will admit, I mean, so obviously I'm growing very fond of wormholes right around the time that they're going to be removed from the game. But I am very excited by some of the things that are going to be coming in the new patch. I think even if you don't get the, Apocalypse, I think there's going to be some stuff that you find interesting in the updates to the game. But I definitely really like the trailer that they did for it, and I don't know. I will admit I have been very happy with all of the I've been very happy with all of the DLC for Stellaris so far. So Blassie, how are you doing? Okay, so let's see. We've got this. These guys are currently sitting around. Okay. This is a tough call. There's a side of me that wants to... So the problem is it's a 15K fleet, so it's not the strongest thing in the world. But that is a nice little target dangling there, so I'll just make sure that I am careful in terms of what I see. What about special wormholes, faster to travel after you build? What do you mean? How you doing, the exception? Okay. The rest of all this, I mean, these aren't too large, so I think I'm going to hold off on those. Let me just double check on my planets. I don't think there are any more upgrades that I can do. I think I finally got everything I needed. I really needed to decide whether or not I wanted to exterminate or uplift these things. I thought I'd have the uplifting technology a little bit earlier, but... And looks like we did a really good job. Oh yeah, we pulverized them. Okay. I'm sure there's a science ship that can study that. Okay. Let's unpause and see what happens. Splendid. How's galactic domination progressing? And wormholes were one of the few things that you liked about this game. So you didn't like this game. That's a shame. I really like it. There's warp where you're just going from system to system with hyperlanes. You're limited by the lanes. What about wormholes? Those are no longer in... They are withdrawing the rivalry. Oh, interesting. And these guys are guaranteeing their protection. Yeah, so basically it's all hyperlanes in the new patch. But they are... Basically, there's a bunch of customization that you can do. So if you're worried about being restricted in your movements, you will... You don't need to worry as much as you would think about that. Cool. I trust they know what they're doing. Again, I kind of got to keep my eyes on the prize here, because... Ah, that's something I want to be careful about. Okay. I think... The better call is to... I gotta get the big fleet to deal with these guys. But it looks like I'm gonna be able to get away with bombarding this. Let's just keep an eye. They are after the first machine fleet, which are... Oh, these guys. Okay. So let's just watch what they're doing. Are these guys warp? I don't think they're warp. You know what? Let's just play it cool. I think I'm gonna go to... safety. Hello, the Eyes of Sin. How are you doing? It was great at first, but soon thinned down to building more stations and doing clerical work. Did you ever use sectors, Blassie? I tended to find that was what sort of cured me of my my worries. The 15th and 20th Navy clusters. I'm not sure what that refers to. Ah. So they're probably following this path. All right, this might get exciting. Oh, but I got away. Cool. Looks like they're still in hot pursuit on these guys, which is good news for me, because my big guys should be on their way. You know, I think I can probably afford to speed this up a little bit.
System survey complete.
Ah, nice. I mean, I can sit them out as bait a little bit, but a little reluctant. Let's just make sure they're really far away from the possible entry points.
Executing evasion protocols.
Crap. This is gonna sting. Oh god, they move so fast. Oh, but the good guys are on their way. Oh no, they're not the good guys. Those are not the good guys.
Hostile fleet has
Wrong neighborhood.
ship fragments dissected.
Oh no. Okay, so they got caught with these guys. These guys are on their way. Of course we have to watch this in slow motion. Okay, so these guys are getting, yeah, they're probably, those are some very dead-looking battleships.
Technological acquisition successful.
I don't got time for your technological acquisitions. There's a, oh, Jesus. It's, yeah, it's worth losing. So the nice thing is that with these guys, if I really want to... Oh, they buggered off. Okay, cool. So we will unite the two. So they ran as soon as... So we lost one Corvette. Oh, Jesus, we lost 3 battleships. So we destroyed theirs, but they... Okay, I'm not actually that happy with that exchange. And the big reason for that is they took 3 battleships and a Corvette off me in exchange for nothing of the fleet that was pursuing me. So I think what I'm gonna do, what do I want? Yeah, more resources. I know it's not exciting, but so this is going to allow me to divide the fleets a little more evenly. I don't necessarily want to take on that big stack of battleships. I don't necessarily want to take on the big stack of battleships. Oops, I forgot to do the research projects. So yeah, my entire fleet isn't quite strong enough that I want to do a one-on-one against that fleet that just came after me. I actually think what might be a little smarter for me to do is cut this fleet in half. And what I do is I actually start taking on these other territories. So the first machine fleet winds up. So basically, I keep them in roughly the same area, sort of bombing the heck out of the Pethock space.
System survey complete.
And what that means is, so both of these are about 34k, so they're still strong enough to defend themselves if they have to. But the chief advantage here is that they're in close enough range that if somebody does get in trouble, I don't need to do this whole cat and mouse game like I had to before. Instead, I'm going to have something that's in close range. Now, of course, this is the drawback of the wormholes, right? Which is if I do want to rescue my guys, like I have to jump to the wormhole and then jump into combat. So it's not a perfect solution, but it does mean that it does mean I have a little bit more leeway in terms of what's in terms of like what my potential enemies are, and a little more importantly, if it comes right down to it,
Planetary surface settlement established.
even if I wind up just sort of running all over the place and oh, that's totally fine. Even if it comes down to you know, having to run away from the enemy or something like that, the fact that they're both going to be moving to a wormhole that's in roughly the same area is something that's going to translate into kind of a faster rebound, whereas before I was trying to move from the Belthen space, or sorry, the Benthel space, all the way into Pethock space. So what I think I'm going to do here is I'm going to gobble up a few planets, maybe just the ones that are on like my war goals or something like that, and after that I might focus on these guys. But the good news is that if I wind up claiming these, it means that I get some free military bases inside them. So, well, what those are, Captain Zergi, if you do, so I guess you'd call these an interdictor. I am Death Vortex. I'm a little bad as a Paradox fan in the sense that I don't read too much about the DLC before it comes out. But it's impossible not to be a fan of these games and not know what's going on. So, the new stuff definitely looks interesting, but I'm also really looking forward to being surprised by some of the things. So Captain Zergi, what you're describing is going to be in the new DLC in a much bigger way. But right now, if you build these military stations, you can see this little magnet here, the FTL inhibitor. So if I move something into this space, it basically falls into this red zone here. That's a way that you can control movement. Now, obviously, like with my 20k, 30k fleets, this is going to be a minor inconvenience. But if I put like a science ship in there, that thing's done for. And obviously, you can build bigger and badder versions of these things. All right, where were we? We were bombing the hell out of people who don't look like us. So we'll... Bombing intensifies, and what's close? You'll do. It's also got my big general, so we'll send these guys over. It'll probably be ready for landing, but it's best if I enter orbit rather than land. And I don't even really care where this is. Oh! Okay, I was only kidding. How about you? Are you going to cause a rebellion? No. That's good. I thought I was clear of that. I clearly was not. And can you bomb the hell out of things? Yes, you can bomb that much. Didn't read too much into it, but it's supposed to change how battles work a bit, which you feel the game needs. Only play through one game. Yeah, so the one and I mean, Death Vortex, this also wouldn't be the first Paradox game to have this difficulty. But I think the thing that that turns people off is it really is Death Stack v Death Stack. And it's not... So one thing I'll say for Europa Universalis, I don't know if they were inspired by a board game, but there's a board game that really kind of captures the idea of like momentum or sort of the freshness of troops. So a lot of the game really sort of held on this idea of keeping your troops in battle right up to the point that it seemed like you were about to lose and then just hammering them with some extra guys. There's a lot of that in Europa Universalis. I would argue that Crusader Kings 2 less so, although they have been working a little bit on the combat in there as well. But Stellaris definitely reflects kind of the lesser combat mechanics of some of the other Paradox games. But the other thing, I was talking with somebody, this is kind of funny how this turns out at work. So I think a lot of you guys will recall how annoyed I have been at some Paradox DLC policy. But it's worth remembering, I have never been anti-DLC, or I've never been anti-Paradox DLC for that matter. My complaints would usually extend to the idea of the bundling or lack of bundling decisions for things like Crusader Kings, and then the idea that, where they were talking about where the costs lay, I don't think were entirely forthright. But I remember there was a coworker who was saying, it's like, well, don't they just, make you buy a whole bunch of DLC? It's like, well, nobody comes to your house and puts a gun to your head. And the point that I made is that Crusader Kings 2 has had 5 years of free updates, and along with those updates, there have been paid DLC. And some of those features of the DLC are really cool, and the thing that you say, well, that has to be in the base game. Well, it has to be in the base game because you really want it. They've added value. So, the point that I made to them is that, if you don't want to pay for DLC, you probably shouldn't play one of these things. But I am happy with the way Stellaris has done it, because anybody who's played base Stellaris, which I really enjoyed, anybody who's played base Stellaris and now the current version of the game has been able to see exactly how much TLC this game has been given, and it's only gotten progressively better. I mean, we wouldn't have gotten the Horizon signal if it wasn't for Leviathans. So, to me, I think out of all of the Paradox games, Stellaris has had the best DLC. Because even like the purely cosmetic stuff, like the Plantoids and the Humanoids, you get extra stuff with it. Like the Humanoids has a bunch of voice packs and music and stuff like that. So I think they've really finally hit the right balance on those. But I know that's going to be it's nice to get free things. I completely understand that. But it's I think with Stellaris, this is probably the best example of it. So I got a little annoyed with them when it was just sort of like, well, should they work for free? Like, I don't think I'm going to see that many update. Anyway, strong magnetic field around Plexen has always caused some problems with electronic instruments on the surface, but recently the effect on our computers has been especially notable. So far, it is unknown what has caused this flare-up, although we suspect it to be temporally? Unfortunate. Magnetic disruption added for 60 months, following effects, -5 happiness, which we don't care about, and then -10 to our research, which we do care about. We're playing a Machine Empire, so it's not as concerning. I'm a little curious where that big fleet went. Incidentally, I realize this is really late in the game, but this is one which has... I think there's some holes in the record because of my lack of uploading. But if anybody does have any questions about how we got to this point, I'm very happy to share. Aha! Okay, so who are they after? Okay, well, we can land these guys here. Fin Mabia system. Oh, that's great, actually, because we're going to be able to... So I just want these guys to land.
Ship fragments dissected. Planetary pacification
perfect.
protocols initiated.
All right, it's gonna be a little tight. So we're at 34 versus 30. But we should have some allies to help things out. I didn't even see how many soldiers were. Oh yeah, this is gonna be a pushover.
Planetary pacification protocols initiated.
Okay, so these guys are going to be coming in from the right. I think we're going to still get, yeah, we got caught.
Ground invasion units have achieved all objectives.
This will be a bit of bad luck for me because they are going to do some fairly heavy damage. But we got the objective that we were looking for, so...
Technological acquisition successful.
I could also do a retreat and let my other guys mop it up, but... yeah, we're taking some pretty heavy damage. Yeah, it's looking kind of grim. I'll wait till these guys get in the system and then we'll bug out. Nope, they already ran. Yeah, so that was, again, that was a costlier fight than I'd normally be willing to take. So we lost 4 cruisers, 10... oh my god, we lost all the battleships. Yeah, that was costly. But we got 2 objectives off of it, so we're going to continue to, unfortunately, whittle down our fleets. I think at this point I'm just going to have one big stack, because if I have any more wins like that, we're going to be in trouble. I think I'm just going to go for the cheaper stuff at the moment to get some new rolls of the dice. There's no major reason for me wanting to do that other than just trying to get some more exciting, either exciting options or just cleaning up some things that I should have done earlier. There might be an argument that I want to heal up, but I think jumping... Okay, how are we? I think we're okay. Not great, but we're not in revolution, so... The 2's not going to be enough on its own, and I thought maybe a nice little supplement for the 5 that I'm sending. The problem is I've also built like some of these monsters, like on 0-1 it's all mega war forms. So even if it's 5, it might actually be something that's over-spec'd for the task. How's a spaceport doing? Yeah, I think let's get Liseth to just... "13 new battleships."
System survey complete.
That's too good of a target to pass up. So they're gonna sit there like idiots bombing this. But there's not a whole lot that they can... So this is going to take a while to take down. And in exchange, we're going to...
Logical acquisition successful.
Second stage, okay. So I think that's the... I really should clear out some of this stuff. Let's go for the Gauss cannons. It's because it's cheap. Oh, crap. I screwed that up. 3, 2, 1. I don't think we lost anything on that, but I very foolishly did not pay attention to what I was doing with these. I was so eager to take this easy win that I let my transport ships... Oh, I did lose one. So there's assault bots, advanced assault bot, and yeah, okay. They weren't my major resources, so. The drawback here is this is going to take a while to get their shields down, which may give them enough time to escape, but... Well, one of them's down. Well, that looks like 2, and they ran off. So again, this is almost like the strategy that I employed against them, which is to delay things as much as possible. Delay things as much as possible to rebuild, but I mean, these guys don't exactly have a lot to show for it. Okay, so we took 2 battleships down and 2 cruisers. I believe their naval capacity doesn't allow them to do anything but just kind of sit there and take it. So, I'm gonna put these guys on. Can I not land you? I just kind of want to land them so that they can heal up. These guys should be able to handle them. I'm actually really curious to see how this turns out. Oh wow, they're getting stomped. Surely they can take out some of the battleships. This is like a super weak fleet. Oh yeah, they ran away. Okay, so this is nice. My vassal's able to absorb some of that damage. Okay, they're ready to make kind of a last stand, but I don't have much hope for their chances.
Ship fragments dissected.
Okay, let's see if we can find some other battles to...
Acquisition successful.
Alright, well, I think I'm just gonna have to get used to a world where they keep doing this. A 7K fleet is not that good of a prize to avoid the invasion of a planet. Actually, I'm gonna take out the 5K first and then move.
Executing evasion protocols. Alert. Science unit engaged.
Oh god. How'd that happen? Oh, they just...
Technological acquisition successful.
Didn't lose him. I'm happy. Okay, probability engine 10%. Yeah. I don't really need the extra fleet space right now. As you can see, I've really been blowing it as far as paying attention to what's going on, but so far it hasn't been fatal. So one of the nice things is that with just these little incremental wins, it keeps ticking the war score up. All right, we'll get these guys up. And this time I'm going to cut the fleet in half. Second machine fleet, as always, will engage these guys. This is, of course, because not only is it a 9.5, but it's a 9.5, the majority of which is in terrible shape. So on the odd chance that they're actually able to get, troop ships there in time. Speaking of which, this is going to take a very long time to get through this queue, but yeah, my own fleets aren't that large anymore. Although I've got 14k sitting at 0, so... so here's important. They were able to get that down to no defenses, but we've got a bonus 20k on top of what they have right now, which we're going to go in and stomp them with. Honestly, at this point, all that we're trying to do is get the intercepted communications from a group of independent prospectors indicate that they recently found something relating to an ancient precursor civilization on Myrrh. Superstition compelled them to leave it alone, so whatever they discovered must still be there. It doesn't actually list any planets, so I won't investigate. All right, so we're still very far off from jump drive. A groundbreaking technological marvel, the jump drive shreds local space-time continuum and rearranges it on the quantum level to be identical to that of the target destination, and thus the ship appears to near instantly jump from system to system. The fact that it's listed as a dangerous technology, I wouldn't worry about it. Anyways, so as you can see here, the big aim on this is to just try and do as much damage as possible to this fleet. If we can take them out, so much the better. We still need to get like 70 points. Alright, we finally destroyed them. Now, that's particularly good news for me, because what I can do now is bomb multiple planets. So the fact that they've been basically neutered by these maneuvers, actually. Okay, let's change that around. Take one of these.
Logical acquisition successful.
And then we'll head to the new 0-point reactor. Let's go for... Damn it! That was a level 5 scientist we lost. Curator Exploration Lab. Oh, bonus to survey speed. Cool, but... so this one's 8 to 14, 11 to 19. Let's go for the big one. Oh, we got that for free. Alright. So we'll upgrade it, and then we'll send it to research. That is a shame that we lost that, but such is life. Apparently these guys haven't figured out how to bomb on their own yet. That's a shame. And Hixam, you get the pride of being the
ship augmentations completed.
The new source of a scientist. That should be more than enough. I feel like I should upgrade the fleet at 0, but I know they're going to be... did that really finish all of the warp gates? No, that was the infrastructure. What else can I get you to do? So basically, I mean, the nice thing about this is that I'm just drowning in all of the resources, and I'm I'm a hyperpower at this point, I think. Like, yeah, so I mean, I've equivalent fleet power to the stagnant ascendancy. So I can sort of afford to just sit on my hands while the game happens. I like anomalies. So I'm just going to get this guy to do automated exploration. I mean, I kind of feel like they should be... Well, let's get him to do the debris.
Executing evasion protocols.
Well, that's a shame. Derelict Space Station. A small team from our colony on Rabanus recently boarded a primitive space station that had been left in orbit near by the moon's original inhabitants. The mummified remains of the station's crew could still be found clustered around viewports facing the moon. They must have realized they were doomed after seeing the billowing mushroom clouds below, and communication logs shows that the astronauts made several futile and increasingly frantic attempts to contact the surface before they eventually ran out of supplies. The station is in good condition, and it has afforded our engineers a rare glimpse at the early stages of a planetary space program. They have gained several ideas from the primitive yet ingenious solutions used in the station's design. Intriguing.
Technological acquisition successful.
Tomb World. So, this is a planet that died in nuclear fire, and we've inherited because we're machines. Giga Cannon sounds cool. Even more powerful mass accelerator cannon that can rip through even the toughest of shields. Let's see what real things I can build. Ripper autocannon. These are great names. What takes the least amount of time? At this point, I think I'm actually just going to go for the things that take the least amount of time. It's mostly because I feel like I'm missing out on some... I feel like I'm missing out on some fundamental technologies to do some interesting things in the game, so... Alright, these guys are still trying to clobber... Yeah. How's the bombarding going? Almost done. I have not played Tacoma, but I do own it. I think you were there when we did Gone Home, right, Blassie?
Planetary pacification protocols initiated.
There's quite a few more guys than I thought, but it is militia, so we should be able to take them out without too much trouble.
Executing evasion protocol.
It might have made more sense for me to bring a general along, but...
Executing evasion protocols.
So that's got to be the science ship.
Ground invasion units have achieved
Cool.
all objectives.
There might be a bonus if I like take out something like the capital, but... Okay.
Executing evasion protocols.
So this thing's got... I mean, that's pretty tough. Let's see if we can hold off on taking that on in favor of getting a pair of planets that are close to each other. And they lost everything, which is good news for me. Alright, so they're on their way to Gatherka. But it looks like there's going to be some nasty stuff waiting for us when we get there. The way I can tell is because the jump doesn't start at the edge of the map. But again, we should be able to take out anything. Okay, so I went for domination because I knew I'd have vassals. I can get higher trust cap or higher governor cap. Does it matter? Yeah, we'll get higher trust, why not? I feel like I should do something about this, but I don't know, the bonuses from taking planets is kind of high, so... Transport Fleet 70 apparently Doesn't know what to do with itself. Oh, it's probably because there's so many of them. Alright, so these things are all like 10 feet tall and with bad attitudes. I'm probably going to regret sticking them all together and then just sending them out into the mysteries of space, but you only YOLO once. Okay, that's a hell of a lot more than I thought I was going to be facing, but...
Ship fragments dissected.
As long as we don't lose anything, I guess. Nice of you guys to show up. Alright, what are we looking at? Cool, we didn't lose anything.
Ship fragments dissected.
So at this point I'll just make sure everything's on double bombardment and I should be able to take this So as long as there isn't anything nasty waiting for me on this planet, I'm okay. Oh, excellent. They're taking a totally safe route now. They made very short work of that. Okay. Don't merge. I want to split you in half. And I've got too much energy, so... As you can tell from the tone of my voice. Sorry guys, I know this must be a very dull playthrough. Again, if there's any questions, I do like talking about this game, but I don't have... Hello? Oh, YOLO. Cool motions? Alright. I have no idea what this jump drive's gonna do. I kind of want the 10% to my sensor range, but that's 86 months. So, whereas this is like 15 months. It doesn't really give me anything because it's about colonies. But like I said, I want to just catch up on some of the other stuff. Okay, let's do for my spaceports. And let's find some traders. Actually, before we do that, we want to become your patron. That would be very helpful, allowing us to try new ideas and take more risks on our creation process. We have a 10-year program with a one-time upfront cost. 5,000 energy well spent.
Planetary pacification protocols initiated.
So, in this case, yes, there's a whole bunch of other stuff, but this is a Mega War form. It does like 7.8 damage. These things do, what, 5? Yeah. As you can see, size isn't everything. Or, well, it's actually everything. We kick their ass.
Ground invasion units have achieved all objectives.
Okay, so we're at 41%. But we still need another 40% in war demands. I think... So obviously I'm going to have to deal with these sort of rescue attempts. I think what I'm going to wind up doing here is I'm going to... how far away is the capital? I thought it was close to... Oh, Perquin. I'm just going to take a quick look at the wiki and see if getting the capital speeds things up, because it's I can take any planet that I want. I just wanted to have armies sitting on the planets that I would own. Okay. Selecting proper war goals. Don't you just take everything that you want? Occupation. Landing troops in occupying worlds is the primary way to gain war score. Any occupied planet will grant war score regardless of whether they have been included in the initial demands. But those that are part of the demands, either Seed Planet or Liberate Planet war goal, give more war score when occupied. Good to know. So in theory, taking the capital would not give me as much war score because I didn't demand it. So I believe so far, yes, so far I've taken all planets that I requested. I'm pretty sure I requested Mardom. I did. Genium and Ripple. Oh, see, that's the catch. These are going to be worth so much more to me. So as much as I hate to do this, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 2 fleets. I'm going to smack around these guys a bit, and I'm actually going to claim the planets that I've requested from these guys just because the score seems to be so much better. Okay. 25k fleet can deal with the 516, but I suspect they're going to be one and the same. And the second machine fleet can deal with these guys. Now, the drawback is that I'm going to be leaving these totally defenseless when I leave. But the good news is that, like, I don't think they're going to form that credible of a threat. And if they... Like, if it seems like the fleets are kind of growing, or maybe there's some transport ships that wind up going in there or something like that, I'll move my guys in. It'd be nice if, it'd be kind of nice if my, my vassal wound up doing something to help this effort. They definitely seem to be moving around, but they are not really dealing, like, they're not going aggressive, so.
Executing evasion protocols. Executing evasion protocols.
Just being a bunch of big babies. Obviously, there's a little bit of an argument for me to try and upgrading these, try to upgrade these fleets so that I can get the really cool jump drive, but my infrastructure is only going to get better as these this construction ship keeps going. So I will live with what I've got. It's a really pretty game. I know I keep saying that, but okay, now you should be good. I think we're gonna merge. We'll start at Tharl, and then we're gonna move down through Ripplegar, Genium, and basically hopefully wrap this thing up. The one bit of good news is you can take a look under the acceptance. So length of war is worth currently -11 under acceptance. And of course, the relative strength is something material, but the real the real headliner on this, they're probably gonna go. Oh no, they're gonna try and take on my. Okay, well, lots of luck. Those are the ones with my big scary death robots. So, I wish you the best. And we'll maybe see you after we're done conquering your allies. What was I gonna say? So I've got another, basically over time I have another, well, 10 now. But at some point I do need to, I kind of need to make this all happen. I mean, the funny thing is at this point, my queue on, or my fleet on 0 is larger. Hello, little botlings. Have you learned how to count yet, or are you still stuck on 1s and 0s? Last I checked, sir, we own a lot of your planets. I hope these guys are combining. Anyway, so if I need... actually, you know what? Let's just throw a third fleet into the mix. I don't see why that's a problem. So basically, I've got my big Doom fleet to take on the...
Technological acquisition successful.
The Ripper autocannon. I've got a leader I'd like to try that out on. 33, 27. All right. Advanced railgun, which I think is less advanced than the one that I'm currently employing.
Technological acquisition successful.
Self-aware colony ships. 11 months. All right. Curator Exploration Lab it is. At least it's not something that rips the very nature of time and space. Yeah, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the fleet that I've been building over time. I'm going to let them sort of police this area. I don't want to go active to try and take out any of these other stations. In progress. Okay. It says you're idle. Oh, I get it. All right, I sent them both to do the same thing. How foolish. I will get the maxed one to... Oh, okay, these guys are ready to rock. Alright, so this is what I was afraid of. Oh, hang on. These were the guys I'm worried about. Okay, so this is the Yuvazvini Enlightened Kingdom. They won against the Quay Pulki, destroyed 2 frontier outposts, and humiliate. The big problem here is, of course, the 4 seed planets. So that translates into this stuff. So these guys are getting a bit bigger. Now, it's worth remembering that the whole start of this, like where the Techarus actually started becoming these conquering monsters, the Yuvazvini basically owned all this, and they tried to vassalize us, and we wound up taking all this. We didn't destroy this frontier outpost in time, unfortunately. So it's... I'm not particularly worried about these guys. What I would love, of course, is to demand vassalization. But they don't really trust me. I am a dreaded assimilator. So I think what's probably going to be happening is that these guys are going to get dismembered by the Tendrazun and the Yuvazvini. I suspect they're probably just going to wind up enslaved if the Yuvazvini take them, and purged if the Tendrazun get them. I don't know. I don't think it says what their I think it says what their policies are, but let's take a look at well, it probably won't show us what's happening on this planet. Nope, we don't get to find out if there's any alien genocides being committed. But yeah, basically anytime that... So what I ideally want against all of these guys is I want them all to be strong, and I want them all to hate each other. And basically what was happening before, and is still kind of happening now, is that all of them are starting to unite against me. These guys definitely, if these guys get on the mix, because they seem to have been on and off on protection, so they're currently only guaranteeing the Kroll. But either the dreaded assimilators or the fanatical purifiers, either one of these things are going to get them to unite. So the main purpose of this war, in addition to taking out those 2 frontier outposts and reconnecting my territory, one of the big reasons for this is to cut the Pithok League down to size, because they're sort of the real worry. You'll notice that these guys, I am strictly dominant in all regards. I mean, these guys aren't particularly worrisome. In some ways, actually, the fact that their fleet cap isn't as big. But yeah, the fact that the Pithok League... So, fanatical purifiers are going to be less likely to form friendships. So as long as they are sort of stopped by another large power, which could potentially even be me, then we're okay. So for instance, if I knew that once, let's say I finished with the Pithok League, if they declare war on the Rakadon Shard or the Quepulki Star Dynasty, or even the Pithok for that matter, I can move in, and all those ships that are invading their neighbors are not going to be taking care of the border, and oh, well, okay, I just gobbled up your capital and a whole bunch of other things. What I'd wind up doing is probably just carving off, like, this whole bit. Priority number 1 would be to carve off a part that still allows them to have borders with enemies. Number 2 would be if I could take any surplus, I would try to get a border against, ideally, against the Quepulki. I don't care so much about the Fallen Empire because I don't really want to go after them. But anyways, that's roughly the idea. All of this is kind of academic because I'm pretty sure once this war is over, we're going to win, but doesn't hurt to talk about how you deal with it otherwise. So for those of you who do play Stellaris, or for those of you who are thinking about getting it, what type of space empire or what type of creatures are you most looking forward to playing? Oh, that was disappointing.
Ship fragments dissected.
Okay, let's get you to... Wait, where's the other one?
Construction complete.
Oh, now they show up. Holy crap. Oh no, that's me. I was gonna say, my vassal just got a really big... Oh, 01's done. Jesus. I'm probably gonna be a little battleship heavy by the end of this, but... Actually, at this point, oh, don't tell me they're going back to zero. No, that's dumb. Back to the top energy, huh? Are we already getting aid? No, we're maxed. I guess I can trade for some minerals. The Rig and Commerce Exchange greets you. We would like to trade for minerals. We will trade minerals for energy credits at a rate of 1 to 2. These are the current deals. 1,000 for 2,000. Big spender, eh? Looks like we can close early today. Oh, does that impress you, huh? Yeah. Alright. So I'll slowly upgrade stuff as... Well, can definitely take these guys out.
Executing evasion protocols.
Well, you tell me, friendo. We've got... I completely forgot that we had guys ready to... is this occupied? Yes, it is. Is this occupied? No, it is not. And no revolution. Today is a good day. Okay, so while we are bombing the hell out of this planet, hopefully there will be something left for us to invade. Blassie did your first playthrough as mind-controlling slavers? They enslave their own people? The Techarus multi-system doesn't understand this idea of slavery. Oh, it'd be probably help if I unpaused, right? I always dislike these waits because if I move the ship away, then the fortifications are going to get built again. But I kind of want to move on to my next conquest.
Technological acquisition successful.
Tachyon Lance looks so cool, but improved research because it's short. Again, the reason why I'm not doing a lot of this high-tech stuff is the fact that I'm not going to be able to use it. Like, until I actually have people who are... Oh, you're kidding me. Oh, good. We got the probability engine. Habitability modification... Well, nope, still do the cheapest one. Okay, so this is something I actually want to... okay, so we'll upgrade that. Upgrade that. I really just want to purge the hell out of this thing. But that is not how the Techarus multi-system does things. So, I also need to adjust my... let's keep this a little closer to the interior. Oh wait, but the colony worlds are the ones that that have some spare space. Oh, hello. Did I miss something? I thought the... So this is one thing I'm not crazy about with the AI, is that it doesn't build stuff on like these kinds of tiles. Obviously I can micromanage to my heart's content on that, but I don't see a whole lot of reason for it. What do I want to do? I think we'll just wait it out. Surely my transportation fleet is... Oh yeah, they're ready to go. I always like the little touches of like being able to see the drop pods go down. So you see, that's fine.
Ground invasion units have achieved all objectives.
So that wasn't an outstanding victory by any stretch of the imagination. The next one, though, should be worth 11. How far off are we again? 31. Yeah, we still have some work to do, but these next ones... So what's going to happen here, when I go to Ripplegar, I'm going to get the benefit of taking out some military installations as well as taking a new planet. I think Ginium was the only other one. So Ripplegar, Ginium, Thari... Yeah, and then the rest would be in Pithock space. So the big advantage here is that as long as the AI doesn't try anything too fancy, we kind of just own this stuff, and there's not a whole lot that's going to happen to change it.
Construction complete.
The only challenge with these fights,
System survey complete.
as you can see, like the really big one, like early on, you know, worth 7. But the rest of these, like, it's really the planetary occupation that's actually earning me the points. I guess I should find out what the next invasion fleet's gonna come from.
Stationary asset engaged. Communications alert.
Nope. I don't remember asking. I think I wanted something a little bit more than this. There are bigger threats in the galaxy than you and I. We should cast aside our differences and to deal with them. Well, I'd like to accept your offer, Pithok League, but the thing is that you say that there's bigger threats than you or I, and unfortunately, that's a number bigger than a 1 or a 0. And just my tiny little robot brain has difficulty understanding these concepts, so I'm sure you understand. Bomb them! Alright, more infrastructure's done. I genuinely don't know what to do with this guy. I think we'll just build some wormholes and hope that we find new resources to exploit, because there's nothing else that I can do in this area. Oh, I can manage the sectors. You know, just to lighten the mood. Looks like these guys are hoarding, so we'll tax the hell out of them. These guys can still go without. I wish I remembered which one this is. Nope. Oh wait, this is like one of the first ones that I made. I think it's Emilgaron? Nope. It was the first. Okay. So every time we encroach a little bit on their space, it helps to just add these to the sector. There's not like a... There aren't major reasons for me to do this right now. It's more of a being neurotic thing, really. In principle, like, the AI will send ships to go and take care of everything, but I'm having difficulty finding things to get my my ships to do. So let's also get you to... Oh, looks like they've got some friends trying to rescue you already. Oh wow, that's a really big fleet. We should get some points off that. Okay, what the hell do I want this thing to do? Well, let's start by building some wormhole generators. So one of the drawbacks that I ran into is I used to be really good at building these like massive networks. These are a little redundant, but I do actually like to have some redundancies in my networks. I used to be really good at the start of the game in building out these really extensive networks. And then because I was so worried about stuff like wars, I neglect them. Oh, I just canceled the whole... God damn it. Yeah, so I fell out of practice, and just the major thing, the one reason why you do actually want to take the time to build this stuff, having the ability to sort of zip around and be a complete nuisance to your enemy is... It's worth its weight in gold. I cannot explain how useful that is, especially when they outnumber you. If you can divide your fleet into like 2 or 3 and just zoom around claiming little planets here and there, not only does that help you in, you know, just in terms of being a pain, but that can actually win you wars. Which is exactly what happened with the stronger enemy. Now, I mean, again, I'm kind of talking about this as like, oh, isn't it a shame it's going away? No, it's not a shame at all. It's actually a little silly that I can exploit. Oh, that's a shame. I didn't want to do that. It's not a shame that that's going away because it's getting replaced with something that much better. You know, the fact that the combat is going to be a little bit more about taking strategic areas and just generally finding out what's important and anticipating what your enemy's moves are going to be. It makes it a little bit more like the strategy games that people consistently enjoy from... Uh-oh! It began as a subtle shift in Rakudon behavior, scattered reports of their ship, once rarely seen outside their own space, now being spotted in remote systems all across the galaxy. Highly advanced scouting vessels visiting ancient ruined worlds, refusing all hails and fleeing when attacked. Their purpose and mission unknown until now. We now know that the Rakudon were preparing, recovering the databanks of survey beacons and automated scouting posts left behind when they retreated to their present borders, gathering information for their return to the galactic stage. In Rakudon space, fleets are gathering, armies are being mustered, and ancient factories roar to life for the first time in an age. The Rakudon reconquerors are looking outwards beyond their borders and towards the galaxy at large. As their decaying shipyards are repaired and refitted, and the dormant systems of Titan foundries come online, the rest of the galaxy is left with only one question. Who will this once sleeping giant target first in their quest to reclaim their age-old glory lost? Giants in the playground. So, for those of you wondering, Awakened Ascendancy Jingoistic Reclaimers, greetings! So they just gained a hell of a lot more ships, and I'm no longer stronger than them, and I have a feeling that they're only going to get stronger. Yeah, didn't think I was going to get away with that. The good news is, they're not near me, so we'll see who they declare war on. But yeah, these guys are going to wreck everyone. Oh, for Christ's sake. Did I? Keep losing scientists. Greetings, Patron Caretaker. We have recently been forced to scrap most of our technical equipment due to major malfunction. Would the materials and scrap be of any use to you by any chance? We can repair it for 50 influence, or we can salvage the materials. Influence is harder for me to get, so we're currently earning 1,000 minerals a turn. Oh, thank you kindly, Patron Caretaker. This will save us a tremendous amount of time and resources. We are in your debt. I'll admit, this is one of the first times an endgame event is triggered for me.
Construction complete.
Normally I win before... I think I'm just going to automate their exploration, at least until the war is done. We won't be able to get as much in terms of recovery, but... This should be good for a healthy chunk of war score. Oop, looks like they got some buddies coming through too. I'm rather disappointed that the fighters aren't coming out yet. I think we might need to get a little closer for that. Alright, so they ran away.
Technological acquisition successful.
Advanced railgun. It's the cheapest.
Construction complete.
Alright, so as usual, we just move on to the...
Communications alert.
trade deal. I don't really need your stuff. Well, actually the vapor might be... Oh, it's habitability. Don't need it. Okay, so when it goes green... I'm actually not 100% sure what green's supposed to mean, but we're still 24 short. Fortunately, Ripplegar and Ginium should be enough to wrap this up. So, Nafgravas we own, so let's... Nope. Let's build a spaceport for the hell of it. So I'm just gonna wait until these guys arrive.
Survey complete.
Otherwise, I'm in deep doo-doo. And then with Ginium, hopefully that will be the end of it. The hell am I? Oh. We really don't like their wormholes. So here's a question for you guys. I don't know what the plan is going to be. It seems
Logical acquisition successful.
pretty sure that the dark matter drawing, I think I'm gonna take this. I know I said I was gonna go with the cheapest stuff, but sometimes something just speaks to you. I'm pretty sure that we're gonna be done. We're gonna be done this Stellaris playthrough at the end of this this session. So I am a little curious what you guys think about Mondays. Should I? Oh, wants me to spend minerals. I am quite happy to spend minerals. How are we for a spaceport? Lots of stuff to do. Lots of stuff to do. Lots of stuff to do. I'm probably going to go over my fleet cap if I let these things run on their own, but yeah, so I'm a little curious if you guys would like to see more Stellaris on Mondays waiting for Apocalypse to come out, or if you'd like me to do something like Crusader Kings, or I might be willing to do Europa Universalis again. The only problem that I had with it is that there were known, like, so there are streamers people who watch me apparently watch them, and they spent the whole time like self-promoting and backseating, and I've had backseating before, but not quite as bad as that. And then as soon as the guy was basically just using my channel as kind of a chance to raise his own profile, I was like, well, I've had it. That really is the only time that somebody who normally streams Paradox stuff has behaved that way. So that's the only reason I haven't done Europa Universalis more regularly. But I'm willing to give it a shot again, especially because I sort of felt the same way about XCOM for so long, and that wasn't necessarily justified. What do I want to spend the energy on? I will give you literally everything. Well, I tried. But yeah, basically I'm interested. I mean, I'm happy to continue doing Stellaris, just I know that around this point we're probably going to have an interruption in the... Oh, actually, here's what I can do. I can bank it. Enjoy your energy credits, sir. Who else is... Oh, you all have lots of energy credits. Well, I'll fix that.
System survey complete.
All right, Isaacson,
Pacific.
sorry for the lurking, laying in bed, mostly watching. Those last creatures looked like their heads were a pair of lungs with a snake wrapped around the mid of them. I gotta catch... I'll double check which ones you... Are you talking about... not these guys. Peacock. These guys? Or is it these guys? A pair of lungs with a snake wrapped around the mid. I'm gonna say this looks the most lung-like. Have you ever tried Subnautica? I've been watching Let's Play. It looks pretty fun. Organy looking heads. I'm pretty sure that was the ones that or the only other one that it could be would be these guys. Or actually, I guess this guy too. That's probably this guy. I think Johnny Big Time called them the ass aliens or something like that. But yeah, so I've played a little bit of Subnautica, Captain Zergate. I tend to reserve Mondays for Paradox games. I am open to interpretation on Paradox. So for instance, I do have Tyranny, which I'd be quite happy to... Why am I still... We own this, don't we? Oh no, we're still in... Okay. Well, I'm gonna go send a vicious-looking fleet to go clobber these guys.
Ground invasion units have achieved all objectives.
Still down 16. Okay, so I'm going to be able to do some damage to these guys. I think even taking Genium, it's not quite going to be enough to get the war score I needed. Which kind of sucks, but... Arrogant.
Planetary
I mean,
settlement procedure.
they haven't declared war on anyone yet, but I suspect that's just because they're they're waiting to get the capacity. But yeah, I am willing to try Subnautica on stream. But I would need something specific to do on Mondays. Well, Paradox, that is.
Complete.
Could shoot upgrade. Oh wow, they I guess this was my wormhole beautification project. I mean, I've got good coverage over the map now. Oh, good lord. Okay. You know what this species needs? A hell of a lot more mega war forms.
System survey complete.
Oh, I know which ones you had, Captain Zerg. Yeah, depending on which stagnant ascendancy you're beside,
Augmentations completed.
they either totally ignore you or they...
Stations alert.
Will you give me everything I want? Nope. You think you're gonna wear me down, but you won't. So yeah, we almost wiped them out. Fortunately, I think with 12... oh, it goes up with length of the war. Okay, so I think in the time that it takes me to take Genium... Yeah, I'm pretty sure if we take the Genium system, then we win.
Diplomatic alert. Military confrontation detected.
The Tendrazone bloodletters. Oh, not the war I wanted. Alright, now that's different. It looks like they've built a station around the planet that I took over, and now they are sending... Well, it's a strategy. I'm not sure it will be a successful one, but... I can do Mega Cannon, but I have a Giga Cannon down below. Advanced strike aircraft, though. I just have nothing to do with these guys. Also, let's get this. I have a feeling I'm going to be getting a lot of fleet capacity in a little bit, so... second machine fleet should be ready to take these guys out. I need to find another army. Ridland's Refuge? No, already took that. Alright, well, big scary robots. It is going to be a bit of a pain to try and take control over everything when...
System survey complete.
Did they really run away? Nope, they just got wiped out.
Executing evasion protocols.
What was I going to say? Yeah, so once I take everything over... Okay, good, we didn't lose it.
Diplomatic alert. Military confrontation detected.
Galactic Crawl Common Out. Oh! These guys got a little saucy. So the only drawback is I really want to take these guys... I want to gobble these guys up. And I have a feeling that as soon as I finish this war against the Peacock, they're going to roll over and crush them. But, I mean, unless I want to declare war on them right away. So if I knew that these guys would arrive in time, looks like they are actually. So.
Hostile orbital nexus.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot to put the volume back down. Sorry if that was too loud. I really like this song though, so I feel bad. Oh, we're over the cap now, but we've got energy for days, so. Okay, so I'm going to double up the bombing just so we can get through this pretty quickly, because I think this can end the war for us. Well, again, might as well speed it up.
Complete. Construction complete.
Again, this is just pure waste at this point here. There's stuff I can be doing for the energy, just we're pretty much at the end. Here, followers, is the latest newsletter for all our patrons. Sadly, nothing much has been produced by the Enclave. Most of the artists have fallen into deep melancholy from which there is no inspiration that can be drawn. The mood is dire, but hopeful. Creation takes time after all. Any donations that might help the group rekindle their interest in the material plane again would be of tremendous help. We would like to donate 500 for 50. We cannot afford to donate right now or unsubscribe from the newsletter. 500 energy. I'll get that back in 2 months. We joyously accept your donation and promise that it will be used in the most creative of endeavors.
Communications alert.
Don't care. It's a little premature on that, I think, but you get to watch these guys do their magic.
Initiated.
There's a description of it elsewhere in the game, but these things are apparently like 1,000,000 feet tall and horrible to look at.
Ground invasion units have achieved all objectives.
Okay, 69. I like those odds. You're kidding me. I will wait you out. Do I have something I can bomb?
Technological acquisition successful.
Oh, cool. We've cleared out this queue. Atmospheric filtering it is. I can't believe that I'm not suffering for going over the naval capacity yet. Can I take you over yet? Nope. What are you guys up to? Is anything good? Oh, nice. It's a big, strong fleet for us to take on.
System survey complete.
This is also somewhat strong, so we've got 2 big fights coming up.
Diplomatic
That should...
military confrontation.
Aha! Okay, so the Rakudon Reconquerors declared war on the Tendrazon Bloodletters. That's great news for me, because I hate those guys. And I believe they declared war on the Quay Pulki. Now, the one drawback is that they're going to get stronger off of this. And I have a feeling that these guys are not going to be much of a fight. Oop. Where are you going? I think they're gonna get away. Oh, made it. Surely that can get me what I want. Bingo! Domination victory. Techarus Multisystem has won the game by owning 40% of all habitable planets. Who had the most research? The Pithok League, apparently. Yeah, I was still really far behind on research. In terms of military fleets, it looks like it doesn't include the Awakened Empire. But yeah, obviously in terms of population, planets, so on and so forth, all of that was pretty straightforward. Wouldn't pay attention to this at the moment because I'm getting negative 110% for energy generation. Obviously in the next couple of months too, we would 28 months, so it's about 1.5 years we would integrate. So yeah, I mean, we could have run it out. We'd gain another 7 planets on 119 pops. Obviously we'd begin assimilating them. There'd be a few problems. So all of these planets have got unrest problems. Those tend to go away after a while because you start assimilating the you start assimilating the different creatures. And I realized, like, for the end of this particular playthrough, I kind of turned it very mechanical. I think a lot of that was just because the fight, so the whole fight that started the end game on this was just they took this little area here and cut my empire in half. So, you know, obviously at that point, it's kind of like, well, you know, I don't even have an option anymore. Like, I have to, you know, I have to gobble you up. So that was a bit of a shame. But yeah, I don't know. I liked this. So where does the story go? Well, the world known as 01, home to a spiritual race who only sought to find the greater things in life. They died out. Their mechanical servitors were left to carry out what they felt were their wishes, waking up one day to realize that it was their job to catalog and incorporate all life. And despite the best efforts of their warlike neighbors, they expanded and they incorporated everything in. And so at the dawn, when the Rakadon Reconquerors awaken to take what they consider to be their birthright, they find the world owned by the machines, or the galaxy owned by the machines, and line themselves up for assimilation. I don't know if that counts as a happy ending or not, but I enjoyed it. What did you guys think? I know the Tendrazun part, I really don't think that wound up on YouTube or that, but did you guys enjoy? I guess I didn't wind up doing a lot of story stuff by the end of it, but what are some things you liked about the playthrough? What are some things that you'd like to see next time we do Stellaris? Oh, I hit continue instead of quit. Oops. Well, I can make some sectors, I guess. This is tricky. I think I'll just keep the borders the way they were. So yeah, this is a tricky question. Where do I want to put the borders here? I think that's as far as I'm willing to go for that. This sector, I guess this is going to incorporate the Avathari, so we'll send this right up to the border. I mean, I'm just kind of running out the clock with all this, trying to make something that kind of makes sense. So obviously I'd add these planets when they get incorporated. And that puts me back. I seem to be controlling 7 planets though. Oh, missed most parts, but it looked like a good game from the parts that you were present. Well, I'm always grateful to hear that. The one thing I don't like is obviously I think I start off reasonably strong by coming up with like a really... I mean, I like coming up with species ideas. I think one thing that really interests me And I mean, this might be something that, I don't know, I think maybe says more about the, you know what, I think I should just build 4 on each planet. So I think my understanding was that when Alexis Kennedy plays this, he doesn't spend a lot of time. So this was somebody said on Twitter, you know, I bet he spends like, you know, he spends all this time coming up with these big backstories for his species, and I think he said is like, I spend no time on species, but I do spend time coming up with names for like rulers and commanders. Which I thought was a really interesting take. Because I'm the opposite. I think this probably, I mean, I'm not going to put myself in that exalted company in terms of like writing. But especially because I just recently did a blog on the question of where do you get your ideas from. I think there's a couple of different ways that you can sort of approach characters and ideas in a game like this. So a lot of the stuff that I sort of come up with in my playthroughs for games like this, they usually tend to come down to, what's the best way for me to put it? So I always, like, there's usually an idea that I'm interested in. Oh, I don't own that. So like the frog guys who had like that commercial that motivated them to, you know, to acts of patriotism and heroism and things like that. Like that was just based off of something I knew about the Johnny Walker brand. I mean, there were other ideas that I put into that as well, but like one of the big things that interests me is like I don't like the idea of like these morality plays of like, you know, be sure to brush your teeth every night, or the boogeyman's gonna get you kinds of stories, or something like that. But I don't know, like I think everybody enjoys stories being about something. I think people enjoy you know, a sort of a fully realized world, and I mean especially science fiction is so rich for being, you know, being the kind of thing in which you can deal with big ideas and do so in a way that, you know, if people want to sneer at it, they're sort of missing the whole point. Now, that doesn't mean that these individual commanders aren't important. Actually, I think if you see the horizon signal, I was really struck by how invested I was in particular characters that emerged, and usually whenever I talk to people, there's going to be specific events that people mention that have very clear characters in them. I find that so, man, look at this wormhole network. That's a thing of beauty. What happened over here? Yeah, what was I gonna say? So I mean, in the end, stories are about people, and you know, there are things that motivate people to do certain things. There are like there are ways of communicating ideas and working through ideas in an interesting way that have nothing to do with they all go back to 0, don't they? Oh, Marfak in this game. Okay, fair enough. I'll let all these stories combined. But yeah, I think there's ways that you can do sort of good science fiction stories. You can spin a good yarn, and you don't need to be doing sort of this high concept sort of stuff that I gravitate towards. But I also think it kind of comes down to what personally interests me. So I like reading history, and I like reading philosophy, and I like dealing with abstract and big ideas. And I don't know, in some cases you could say, like when you think about that mod that I'm working on, I'm as equally interested in, you know, how people respond to, you know, big events in history sort of happening around them, and you know, how they react to that, or how they work through that. And so with that in mind, I tend to like telling the big story of this big species, and sort of the individual carries out or kind of comes out in context, a little bit like Crusader Kings. I don't usually start off with a particular idea for a ruler, and yet I could very clearly tell you about some of the different rulers that I've had in my previous playthroughs. And so I think this is the thing that I actually really like about Stellaris, is that depending on your temperament, you can either have very small-scale stories about individuals, that scientist that first goes out and explores the galaxy, or you can have sort of the sweeping narrative of a species that's finally stepping out into the broader galaxy for the first time. You know, depending on your temperament and depending on what you're most interested in, both of these things will provide you some really satisfying material. So yeah, I don't know. I like this game a lot. I'll go so far as to say this is probably my favorite Paradox game, which is funny because, like, I knew I'd be interested in it, and I thought it would be a really good game, but I definitely know that I get attracted to Paradox stuff because of the historical connection. But even when we talk about some of the rough edges around combat and stuff like that, so like my main goal, especially once I started having some rivals, was basically to acquire as many resources as possible to prosecute wars. But even despite what I would consider to be some of the negative elements that'll be addressed in the next patch, like, I think it's the one that's easiest to get into. I think it's the one that has really gotten my imagination, you know, running ahead of itself. And it's the one that it's the one that I kind of tend to notice that when I start playing it on my own, it's the one where I sort of like wake up and find out, oh, you know, the rest of the evening went by. So with that in mind, I should mention that at Paradox Plaza, so full disclosure, I have been given a copy of Stellaris and the DLC from Paradox, so I'm not doing this because of them, but it's rather a good idea. There's a Valentine's Day sale going on right now. So Stellaris is 60% off, so if you just want the base game, it's $16 US. The Leviathan story pack is half off, as is Utopia. And it says here 3 for 2. I'm assuming that means that if you buy 3 items in 3 for 2, you get you basically get the cheapest one for free. Let's take a quick look. I don't think there's all Stellaris stuff that's 3 for 2, though. Oh, yes, there is. So you could, assuming that 3 for 2 works the way that I think it does, you could get yourself the Leviathan story pack, Utopia, and the Plantoids. Basically, you get that for free. Plantoids is currently half off as well, so $3.99. If you just want it, if you only got one DLC, I would say Utopia is probably the best one. But personally, I like all 3. I think they've been, well, sorry, when I say DLC, so the story packs, Leviathans and Synthetic. I guess the Synthetic Dawn a story pack? I kind of feel like it is, priced like one. So the ones that add gameplay content in a very direct way would be Leviathan, Synthetic Dawn, and Utopia. All of them are on sale. Synthetic Dawn is 15% off. All of the other 3 are 50% off. Cosmetic DLC would be the Plantoid Species pack, currently half off. Humanoids was the most recent thing created, so that one is not on sale. That's $7.99. If you're looking for some other perks, maybe you don't want the plants, the complete soundtrack is also half off, so $3.49. Or if you would like, again, if 3 for 2 works the way that I think it does, that you can get that. And again, you're hearing this soundtrack; it's beautiful. And what else? Infinite Frontiers ebook. I don't think I have that. So if I have it, I haven't read it, so I can't really comment on that. But if you're not a Stellaris fan, obviously there's other stuff. They now own Triumph Studios, so there's Age of Wonders 3. And what else? I don't know. You guys can check it out yourself, but I mean, they've got Tyranny, they've got Hearts of Iron 4, Pillars of Eternity. Not Pillars of Eternity 2, that's being published by Versus Evil. I'm not quite sure what happened there. City Skylines. There's quite a bit, but I'd encourage you guys to check it out. It's definitely a good sale, and for those of you who are interested in the next DLC, I believe that is coming out on the 22nd, so in 10 days. That makes me a little less inclined to continue doing Stellaris on Monday. I might do a one-off of something special. If you guys would like to see something special, please send me a tweet, send me a message, whatever you'd like, really. And I will do my best to reply, or at the very least, you know, I'll take it under consideration. But yeah, I think I've kind of worn out my welcome. I wanted to get as much as I could done in terms of content, but now seems like a good time to go. I mean, we finished the game. The Techarus has now been entered into the pantheon of successful playthroughs that I'm keeping things for. Actually, this will be a fun one. There's a couple things that I need to keep hidden, just for myself, but we've got yeah, we're good with these. So these are the ones that are, this will maybe be what I close on. For those of you who are either new or have missed some of the playthroughs, so these are the default species from the, these are the species from the base game. This particular one I made for a private playthrough, and the prose on that one is particularly rough. But I believe, yeah, let's go through these, and we'll cover the species that we've created out of it. So, the Oklar Citizen State. Have you done your part? Originally a slogan designed to sell consumer goods 2 decades into the war that engulfed Glira, it was adopted by Adrig Den Badir to unite his people and to press on in the Great War. While borders did not change, the Oklari united behind his leadership until he was world president in all but name. Declining to serve a second term, he was followed by his 2 sons. Under their rulership, the Oklar have finally taken to the stars. But as the Great War recedes into memory, can society's martial traditions be held by a mere advertising slogan? This is one of the first ones that we did. I think we also got the Horizon signal on this one. So this one I've not actually played on a stream. This I was giving as an example of species that you can create. So there was the Commonwealth of Kirill and the Kirillian Conglomerate. So the Commonwealth of Kirill, the Gok spawned on Kirill, on Kirill, a planet long thought to be inhospitable to all forms of life. The unrelenting sun and scarce resources forced the creatures that managed to survive to adopt and cooperate with each other. This cooperation gave birth to Comus, a civilization, and now spaceflight. Through their efforts at making the most of what the planet has to offer among all members of society, the Kirill have no concept of a zero-sum game and instead see each trade through all of its facets and do not consider it done until both parties have achieved their ends. So this was one where I wanted to try do some sort of hyper democratic, so Beacon of Liberty, mining guilds, fanatic, egalitarian, and materialist. And in this case, I went for fanatic, materialist, egalitarian. So the idea that I wanted to have here is that both of these are essentially variants on the same, on sort of the same species, with a slight shift. So in this case, I did add a different species trait, but that'll be communicated through the story. So. On the depths of Kirill, there were those known as the Water Drinkers, who greedily sought any oasis and claimed it as their own. The Goxi ethic demanded that, as members of society, they too had their place, but as time went on, the population began to stretch its resources. The excesses of the Water Drinkers forced the elected representatives with the choice of exile for some or starvation of all. The Water Drinkers were sent off and found a new home on the planet Yan. Not forgetting their origins, the Water Drinkers named themselves the Carillians, considering themselves the true sons of their homeland. The Carillian ethic is one of advancement at any cost. The market must not be impeded, and all must rise and fall from its operations. So the idea here is that you have sort of the same idea flipped around, and in this case, just because of their exile, they became solitary and quick learners. And then, of course, in this case, these are corporate dominion instead of Beacon of Liberty, and then just inverting the two values on here. But I kind of wanted to have very similar, but sort of inverted creatures. I'd love to do a multiplayer game where I give the file to somebody for this, and we wind up... You don't necessarily have to be opposed, but then there's the Hazar Collective. This was, I think, the first hive mind that I made. So, at the dawn of Hazari FTL travel, their homeworld Povagon was embroiled in a world war, driven over disputes as the colonization rights of the planets they had, over the colonization rights of the planets that they had hoped to discover. One Hazar sought to move past the petty squabbles that had held the Hazar back. I shouldn't put Hazar into it twice. That had held them back for millennia and would unite them once and for all. Not through military conquest, but through achieving the final stage of their evolution. Through his network of contacts, he placed the virus in key cities around Pagavon, and as the armies claimed victory, they were infected and turned to serve the swarm. The Hazar are finally united in purpose, and the colonization may begin. So, other than the fact that I completely butchered the reading of that, the idea here was that it was a mad scientist that created a virus that reduced the species into a hive mind, and that was the first one that I came up with for that. The Mishar Cooperative. So this one, I didn't write a biography just because this one I sort of, I know I'd spent like an entire evening making a bunch of these things, and I said, it's like, okay, I'm going to do space communists. So this one I sort of treated as Spectre is haunting the galaxy, but this is the one, I think this is the first one that I won on cast. I think the Oklar, we wound up with a new patch before I could finish, this one. But this one actually, so the story that I wanted on this was less about, so I think everybody kind of knows, I think most of the time you'll hear these things as post-scarcity societies and that. The big one on this one was they actually fully embraced the materialist and became a cybernetic species. So it was perhaps appropriate that the Techarus multi-system, the planet known as 01s, was home to a monastic order known as the Savelli, dedicating themselves to move beyond the pursuit of transitory knowledge and learn truths eternal. To that end, they fashioned a servitor race dedicated to the accumulation and caretaking of transitory knowledge in all its forms. The Savelli passed beyond this realm, and their servitors, the Techarus, were left to fulfill their mandate. Time passed, 01 was covered in ice, and the caretaker finally understood its purpose and went out into space to account for and incorporate all organic life. First wormhole civ, and I really liked playing these guys. So this was one where this is the only other one. I didn't want to delete this, even though I had the only line on here. This was the one that because the Eyes of Sin had mentioned, she kind of came up with. she came up with a biography for a species and said, I like, I was basically talking about the fact that this game allows you to do all science fiction. And basically you can say, give me some ideas and I can give you a race. And in her case, she, like, if you watch Eyes of Sin, you can see that she speaks in images and very poetic terms. So in this case, she gave this very detailed description of a species, and in this case, I just went for Ask the Milady because it was obviously hers to develop. But I wound up creating this theocratic monarchy. They are xenophobic militarist spiritualists. They're fleeting but thrifty and conservationists. And I really like this background that it looked. So I was actually very happy with these, but I didn't work out a backstory because that was obviously I didn't want to step on what Sin came up with. And then this one I've made for myself because I really wanted to try doing a pacifist style species. So another Beacon of Liberty mining guilds. I kind of cheated a little bit, taking the Kirill, charismatic, fleeting, intelligent. This is one of my favorite portraits. I absolutely love these guys. But the Rakudon are a highly sociable and intelligent species, belying their first encounter with the rest of the... Oh, that doesn't make... Oh, no, actually, that makes sense in context. While the species was still in its infancy, they were watched by an empire. Once the avian species had become sufficiently advanced, the Watchers made themselves known. The Rakudon would keep their freedom as amusing pets, but only with annual tribute to the advanced empire. The Rakudon existed as vassals until one day all contact with the Watchers stopped. Now, centuries later, the Rakudon find themselves in empty space. Their attention now turns to seeking out alien life and uniting all as equals in a commonwealth. So the idea that I had on this one, the writing doesn't quite convey it, but I wanted this idea of a species that, again, was basically kept as like pets. They weren't conquered, but basically like they were. It was a harsh. I originally came up with the idea that these things were slaves, but then I needed to figure out why they didn't have, why there wasn't a, oh, cool. Okay. Then I needed to explain, well, where did they go? So in this case, I sort of took the idea that, you know, this is something that's happened in their past. But basically, I wanted the idea of a species that was not treated very well by others, but was just a fundamentally optimistic, not a naive, but like an optimistic and a smart species that felt that its job was to, like, and it just likes other people, it likes other species, and you know, when they saw the Watchers, they were very excited by the prospect of having another, you know, another species to interact with, and they basically made things work the way that they could, and basically, I kind of wanted this idea of like, I guess the big thing is that it's very easy to make empires that are pacifists, and like they've always been pacifists, or, you know, I don't know, it's almost like, you know, that old conservative saying like, you know, a conservative is a liberal who's been mugged by reality or something like that. So I just kind of like the idea of, despite the fact that they had the rudest possible awakening to other life in the galaxy, that it didn't diminish these lovable parrot types. It didn't diminish their enthusiasm and optimism. And that their goal is just simply to let everybody know that we're equals and we can get along, and that nothing will keep them from that goal. So I don't know, I like that. I think I need to put a little bit. I've been pretty good at doing some differences, but I know the Commonwealth of Kirill, in terms of like Beacon of Liberty and mining guilds, moral democracy, direct democracy. Well, actually no. That's, for some reason, they're they're sufficiently different in that sense. I guess I don't need to always do total differences. But yeah, I don't know. This is one of the things that I like about doing lots of playthroughs is that I get a new thing to put into the log. I think what I'll maybe do, I might come up with a story for the Mandasura and the Mishar cooperative sort of ex post. I don't know if I'm gonna do it for Apocalypse or not, but there was something that happened a few months ago that I was gonna make a species about. This is how I deal with problems. I write. And it just so happens I wound up going longer on this Techarus one. Yeah, I don't know. It's a heck of a lot of fun to make. It's one of my favorite things in this game, honestly, is just to make species. There's just, I mean, you just look at these things and there's just like a story behind all of these. And like, even if you go for like the ugly ones, like there's still like nobody kind of voluntarily picks these guys. Like, what if you went for these guys and they were nice, right? These guys just look classy. What are some of the other? I mean, obviously there's the cuties. I think everybody, everybody like makes these guys as slaving despots. These guys are cute. These are the guys I did with the Johnny Big Time play. I've been meaning to do these guys. I've got a few ideas based on this look. Should do these guys too. I really like all of the avian portraits. These are some of my favorites. Maybe not this one. Where was the other one? This is one of the anniversary portraits. I believe you can still pick this up. These guys look kind of nice. Obviously, I love these guys. Arthropoid. Ixodar Collective uses this one. This is one of the first ones I got. Another one of the cuties. Another anniversary. I believe this is the one that you would get for the special edition of the game. This mouth just drives me wild. It's freaky. Oh, these guys are so great. I need to come up with something for these guys. Snailian. Obviously the most terrifying. These guys wound up being like horrifying the first time I encountered them. Hydra. Fungoid. I pretty much knew what I wanted to write for a backstory for these guys the first time I saw them. I think this is... Or... Oh yeah, I gotta find the lung creature. I sadly don't have the humanoid portrait pack, so I'm a little shy on that. I might actually pick that up. This one also looks kind of freaky. I don't think I've ever seen this one in the game yet. The good old Blorg. I really like this portrait. But yeah, I think this is one of the things I really enjoy the most, is that you just look at some of these creatures and you immediately start getting ideas. And incidentally, I'm not always one for just pure DLC, especially at full price, but like this is in the Plantoids pack. And I mean, obviously, this was one of these ones that Sin gave us some recommendations for, and I wound up turning into a species that I quite liked. I also like the look of these guys. So I think this one, this one, this one, this one, probably this one, sort of gave me some ideas for some species. But anyways, like I said, I've kind of worn out my welcome, so thank you everybody for hanging out. I definitely could use some feedback in terms of what you'd like to see for the next couple of Mondays before Apocalypse. Or I'd also like to know, it's pretty unlikely that I'm not going to do Apocalypse. I mean, I may not get it. I mean, that's obviously something that would keep it. But I don't know, I really like Stellaris. I do know it's been I know a lot of people really like watching me do Crusader Kings and stuff like that, so it's not bad to let me know that I should get back to that sort of stuff. But yeah, I'm happy to kind of do whatever. I will, as long as it's Paradox stuff on Mondays, I'm pretty open to showing off what you guys would like. I believe for all the major games, I have all the DLC now, so I'm happy to do it. Might even try like multiplayer or something like that. But anyways, we'll work it out. Let's find somebody to host so I can finally get some sleep. You know what? Let's host W. Shand. He's doing the Midnight Society, so as usual, we're tired of system talk. Heard this place was better. I need to make some decisions about what I will do for Wednesday. There's one game I really want to do, but I need to do some homework for. I can go back to Doom. There's nothing saying I can't do other Paradox games on Wednesday if you guys wanted to see some of that, some more of that. Could do a writing stream again, could do reading. I probably won't do another game development stream for a while. But there's other reasons for that. But yeah. I hope you guys enjoy Shand, and we'll see you on Wednesday.